Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Education, the Teacher Stalking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back to talk about just a rockin' good time, right?
Yeah.
One of the most feel-good movies we've covered yet this year. Your pick. Why don't you introduce it?
Yes, it is I believe, 1978. I got that right.
You did.
I Spit on Your Grave.
I Spit on Your Grave. The often confused with a romantic comedy.
Children's
most
film. Definitely.
Yeah.
This was a rape and revenge horror movie. Yes.
Like most Disney shows are.
Yes. And I enjoyed it.
Well, it lives up to it.
Yeah.
It lives up to it.
We've got Jennifer, who she's from New York.
She's a writer.
Yes, short stories. And she's decided to kind of, I don't want to call it like a hiatus, but I have a feeling like she's in this writer's block. So she's changing up scenes to head somewhere else.
Well, she wants to break through and write a novel.
Yes.
And so I think she's doing what writers in Hollywood movies do is, I'm going to retreat to the countryside. I'm going to minimize the distractions. And I'm going to have nothing to do but write.
Yeah.
And it works out for her. Perfect. Yeah. No interruptions. No distractions.
She's in Connecticut and Litchfield County, where she's heading out there, like you said, to do her first novel. She stops through to get gas. She's an attractive woman.
She is. She kind of gets out of the car. And she's just very, like... She's New York, really. Right. It's like being from Manhattan. It's like when you're dealing with, just everything's a threat. It's just everything seems so much more heightened and strenuous. You get into like the sticks of Connecticut, and everything just seems so innocent and peaceful and laid back.
Yeah,
and like you said, she's getting gas. There's the gentleman that works at the gas station, and like a couple of his friends. She's just, just out walking around. They're definitely noticing because apparently there's no other girls in town.
Right. Yeah. Not their wife or anything.
Nope.
Right. And she just makes small talk with them and then heads on back home, orders some groceries delivered.
She's got like an Airbnb or something.
Yeah. Grocery store. And we meet Matthew, who is slightly disabled.
Yeah, you could tell he's a functional person in society, but he does have some mental deficiencies.
And he hangs out with the other three guys that we met earlier, Stanley, Andy, and Johnny.
Which I thought was an interesting dynamic. I understood these three hanging out because they're just kind of, blue collar dudes. And then there's Matthew, and Matthew definitely didn't feel like he fit.
Yeah, he was more... he was more so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was never really the butt of their joke.
Right. Honestly, kudos to them for accepting him for who he was.
Right. Where they...
First half of the movie.
Did they find him more likely to do the mischievous things that they wanted him to do? Yeah, but they... I wouldn't call it a friendship. They kind of cheered him on. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's not good either way.
Yeah.
But
no. But so he delivered the groceries. She gave him a nice big tip. He kind of hung around for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, because he found her attractive. Yeah. And he's awkward, so he doesn't know what to do.
Right. And so she then heads out. Did she go out into the water and get in the water? That's when she got undressed.
Yeah, she went skinny dipping in the middle of the day on an open waterway. So.
Yeah, and so Matthew was telling his friends, hey, I saw her breasts.
Yeah, that's right. I saw her. I saw them. And they're like, oh, yeah?
Yeah, and so we've got Stanley and Andy, and they're kind of, I don't know. They're heading around just... driving past on their little motorboat.
Right. Well, it's like Matthew, because they knew where she was staying because she told them. And then, of course, Matthew's like, I saw her breasts. So, like you said, Stanley and Andy are like, well, we better go check this out.
Yeah, because if you're going to be naked in the middle of, the day, drive on by.
And clearly you're going to be naked nonstop.
Yeah. So they're heading by. They're kind of being like menace to her.
Yeah, they're being very everything she's trying to get away from in New York, the distraction. Yeah. But yeah, they were like catcalling her from the boat. Like it just, the stereotypical, like, I don't know, chauvinistic male behavior. Just real dirtball stuff.
She's laying in bed in the evening and she hears like whistling. She goes out to check. It's just a lot of just kind of badgering her and whatnot. So we get out to one day she's out on the kayak and the three of them are riding around on the boat and they come up and they start messing with her and they basically they're like pirates. They just take over her boat.
Yeah, they do.
And drag her up to shore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where she realizes like this is not just like the playful, right? Because beforehand I feel like everything was pretty innocent. It's just annoying, and you've never seen annoying, but
exactly, it's kind of flirty, and clearly these guys were just immature and obnoxious as it was. You probably didn't think like this was going to go anywhere,
right?
So she was like, just dealing with
it. But it escalates very quickly because they are start beating her. They hold her down, and it's just the three of them. Matthew's not around right now. Until he's drag her.
He's hiding. Yeah.
They drag her out of the water onto land. They're dragging, they've ripped her bikini off. She's naked. Yeah. And Johnny is the first one where he rapes her.
Yeah.
And Matthew's in the picture at this point now. They're holding her.
Right.
And she just kind of falls limp.
It's so...
Yeah. And so, I will say though, she's a fighter because afterwards, after Johnny was done, she stayed there for a little bit, but got up and left.
Yeah, she couldn't fight as much as she wanted to because they were holding her down.
Yes.
And I won't. Obviously, there was zero consent involved, but I think she realized, let's just get this over with.
Yes.
This is awful.
The more that I fight,
yeah, I hate this is happening to me, but I'm outnumbered 3-1, and clearly this is going to happen whether I want it to or not.
Yeah.
So you're right. She just kind of walks off. Okay.
Assuming they're done. They've had their way with her.
You would think that would be the case.
And she kind of gets the point where they've gathered her for Matthew because they mention we got her for you. Dude, she's for you.
Get over here and do this.
And he didn't. He's like, no.
He knew it was wrong.
Yeah. And so we now, she's crawled off and she's hears this.
She's walking through the woods.
Yeah.
She's trying to go home.
This harmonica playing.
Yeah.
Which, not Andy. Who's the other one?
Stanley.
Okay, so it was Andy. Andy had been playing this whole time.
Yeah.
He's just got the harmonica. And it's almost like she's in a maze because she can't find her way out of the woods. She's walking and she comes up on Stanley. And then she turns around and Andy comes out and she turns around and Johnny comes out and then she turns the last place and there's Matthew standing there.
So she's cornered again.
And now we get our second.
Yeah.
And they flip her over on a rock and Andy
do it again.
Yeah.
Only it was a different one. Like you said, it was Andy this time.
And this one was a lot more brutal. And she passes out from the pain.
Yeah. Because it's absolutely terrible that it happened the first time. But again, she's obviously in shock. she's in a daze, and then it happens all over again.
So later on, she had awakened and crawls back to her house where she's staying. Goes to call the police, and as she's dialing the phone, covered in blood and mud, Johnny steps on the phone.
Yeah, because they were in the house waiting for her. Oh my gosh, this is just awful.
So I
even watched the movie, and it's like, ugh.
So they've made it back. They find some liquor in the cabinets, and this part I was just like, I was annoyed by, because Matthew takes one sip and he's like, woohoo, let's go. And I'm like,
he got drunk real quick.
Yeah, I'm like, anyone who's drank knows it doesn't happen that fast, but whatever.
Right.
So he then has his way with her, and he tells them, I can't finish because you're watching me.
Yeah.
So they make fun of him. They find her manuscript she's been working on. They make fun of it.
They tear it up. And,
rip it up. And then Stanley.
Yeah, we've had 3 of the 4 of them.
And Stanley is almost just, I don't know.
All of it is terrible.
Yes, but it's Stanley's is just so degrading.
Yeah, he's just, like I said, it's all terrible.
Yes.
But Stanley adds just this meanness to it.
Yeah, I mean, calling her names, slapping her, shoving himself in her face, It's just, I mean, Stanley is to the point where the other 3 were like, dude, get off.
Yeah.
Stop.
You're going to kill her. Stop.
Yeah. Like, it's like, you 3 just raped her and you're telling him to stop?
Yeah. It's like, so you have a moral compass all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. So they leave her, head out to drive away, and they're like, she's a witness of a crime.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's passed out too.
Yeah.
Like, not only is she probably knocked out, but
so they're like, Matthew, go kill her, go stab her, here's a knife. And so he heads into the house, and he's gonna do it, and he just can't. So he wipes the knife and the blood on her face and tells the guys she does it, and off they go. It's now been a couple weeks, and we've seen her she's alive because, like I said, Matthew didn't stab her. She's gathering herself, and she's planning this revenge. I mean, she's
it took her a few days to process.
Yes.
You never get over this level of trauma.
Right.
But she's come out of it with a New York grit.
Yes, she has. She's like, listen, kudos to her. Washes herself off, puts her manuscript back together, and
heads to church.
Yeah. To ask for forgiveness, what she's about to do.
She's plotting like
she's got a gun in the nightstand, and she's not afraid to use it. So she's one day sitting out on the hammock, and the 3 boys come by on their boat because they had discussed, like, it's been hot, her body is going to smell. We've got to go check.
They're having this conversation like in a restaurant.
Yeah, like over milkshakes.
Like, oh man, it's been a couple of weeks of like 90-degree heat.
Yeah.
She's, and they're like, well, what's the big deal? Like, what's going to happen? And Matthew's like, she's going to decay. And they're like, but it's going to stink.
Yeah.
So we got to go clean this up.
And so they ride by and they see her in the hammock, and they're like, oh, Matthew did not kill her.
Right.
So they head back and beat him up. And this is where she starts to get her revenge because she goes
for the easy pickings.
Yes. And she orders groceries.
Yeah, it's basically almost like she starts the story over again.
Yep.
She orders groceries. She knows Matthew's going to deliver it. He takes a knife with him.
Yes.
Because it's her. Like, it's just like they all know she's alive, so now they're almost on pins and needles. Like, she shows up, or he shows up with the groceries, and she's waiting for him like out by a tree.
Yeah, and she seduces him. I mean,
she opens up her robe.
Yeah, they head down to like the marsh kind of, and they're, doing their thing. And my husband actually watched this movie with me, and he's like, she's just gonna let him do it. And I was
and
like,
she did.
I'm like, Casey, there's something going to happen. Like, she's not going to sleep with him now.
Yeah, she hasn't
She's got a plan.
Yeah, she's not into it all of a sudden.
Yeah, like, she didn't forget what happened a few weeks ago. She knows what she's going to do.
So she calls Matthew over and, again, exposes herself to him. Gives him in a mental state to let his guard down. Because he comes out, he's got a knife. Like, he even shows it to her. And they do it. Like, they have intercourse. She lets him do what he's going to do. And then as he's laying there recovering, she was prepared as she had a noose ready.
Yeah.
Puts it around his neck, strings him up as just kind of pulling the rope around a tree. And strings him up by the neck, and he's just got his pants down around his ankles and just hangs him.
Yeah.
Broad daylight.
Yeah.
Like,
and when he goes, she just drops him into the water and moves on to her next victim.
Yep. Like, 1 down, 3 to go.
And so she heads into town to get some gas from Johnny.
Yeah.
And she's since come to find out Johnny has a wife and 2 children.
Yeah, she kind of stalked him a little bit and realized this is a family man.
Yeah.
Like,
and she seduces him into the car.
Yeah.
He's like, I knew you'd come back around.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Knew you'd come to your senses or something like that. And it's like, come to your senses, what?
Yeah, yeah. Apparently all you needed was to be assaulted 4 times.
Yeah.
Now you realize how much you like it.
Yep.
But you're right.
And
talks him into the car.
She does. And he's talking to her like, it wasn't my fault. Like, it was Andy and Stanley. They wanted to do it, blah, blah, blah.
Actually,
but you were
blames
strutting.
her. Yeah, blames her.
You were strutting around in that bikini, showed Matthew your boobs. Like, you're the reason. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, some things never change, I guess.
Yep. And she gets him into the bathtub.
Well, at first she takes him, like you said, she held him at gunpoint.
Yes.
And he was, she like stopped halfway back to the house and made him get out and pulled a gun on him.
Yeah.
And he talks her down.
Right.
She knew he was going to.
Correct.
That wasn't her plan to
begin
begin
that
with.
Part.
And that's when she, like, come on and, come on back to the bathtub. And again, a very intimate scene. He's in the bath. He's in the bubble bath. She's standing there nude. And he gets in the bubble bath with her. Or vice versa. She gets in with him. And she starts, like, fondling him under the water. To the point he's in a relaxed state. And he's really enjoying it. She just reaches over the side of the tub. She's had a knife hidden under the rug.
The one she took from Matthew.
Yeah. And pulls that knife out, takes it under the water with her, and just slices it off.
And she locks...
so calmly, she just steps out of the tub. He hasn't even hit what's happened yet.
Right, because he's like, it feels so good, it hurts. And then he like looks down and it's just blood.
And then he realizes it's missing.
Yeah.
She just steps out of the bathtub, puts on her robe, leaves the bathroom and locks the door behind her. And it just lets him bleed to death. Yeah. He's pounding on the door, yelling, and it won't stop. I can't get it to stop. And she's just like reading the paper. Like,
playing some opera type music, whatever, different language.
I'm gonna let him bleed out. And he did. Yeah. And then she after he dies, she dumps his body in the basement and burns his clothes. Like, 2 down, 2 to go. Yeah. And it's like each time, like, Johnny realized he'd mentioned that Matthew had been reported missing. Because he said that to her. We knew she's like, yeah, I killed him.
Yeah. She's like, he finished and I just killed him.
Yep. And so
he's
now,
like, you got a funny sense of humor, lady. It's like,
no, she does. So now we're down to Stanley and Andy, the 2 idiots of the group. And so they're like, wait, Johnny's missing now. Like, clearly. So they go to the cabin.
Yeah, and Jennifer's ready for him this time because she hops in the boat with Stanley and she's like, is it just you? Like, I was hoping it was.
Yeah, because Stanley dropped Andy off on shore and he's got an axe with him. Yes. But like you said, she swam out to the boat
She pushes Stanley overboard, and you think like just swim away, because that's what Casey's saying the whole time. Just swim, go away. But she's doing, making a whirlpool almost around him with the boat.
She's like doing donuts around him. Yeah. He can't go anywhere.
And as he, Andy comes out to save him, because he's now, fighting these waves that she's making. And the axe has fallen into the boat that Andy had. And as Jennifer drives by, she plunges.
Yeah.
You can see it go into the skin on the movie. Yeah. Just right into his back.
It's like she's jousting.
Yeah. And there goes another one. Andy's gone.
Andy's gone. Stanley's still trying to swim around.
Yes. So we're left with Stanley, and I like this part. So he's like, I didn't even do anything to you, blah blah blah. Because he didn't rape her.
He didn't rape her. He just beat her severely.
Yes. And so he's talking. She shuts off the trolley motor. He comes up, swims up to the motor. And I think it's kind of funny because I'm gonna cuss here. Because earlier he had said, suck it, bitch, to her.
Right.
And, he's talking and he goes to climb up and she says, suck it, bitch. Turns on the motor and just slices him up.
Yeah. Basically just lets the motor chew him up.
And I don't know. I liked that part because I'm like, oh, she even used his own words against him.
Right. Yeah. She had it. Despite that being the fourth assault of the day, she still was cognitive enough to like listen and remember what was being said. But she took him out.
Yeah, and drove away.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the movie. That's the movie. It was a quick hour and a half. Like it's like an hour and 40 minutes, but it kind of flew by because it's like that was the movie. That's what the movie was about. We're going to throw assault after assault after assault at this woman and then let her rebound and get revenge. And then that's it. Do you see now what I was talking about last week, that a lot of people think it's too far and then other people are like, it's really feminist. You can see both sides of that spectrum. I was glad to read in the trivia that as violent of a movie as it was, on set, everyone was cool.
Good.
The actress was actually the wife of the director.
Oh.
And the four guys felt so bad about how nude she was that they actually were campaigning to the director, let us be nude more. It's not fair.
Something I've never understood is all these movies that we've watched, and I'm not saying I want it to happen because I don't care to see that.
Right.
But you see girls full frontal all the time.
Welcome to the horror genre.
But you never see guys full frontal.
No.
And I'm just again, don't care to see it.
Right.
But it just makes me wonder,
but that
why?
Right there is why you don't. You just nailed it. You did. You just answered your own question.
It's not as nice looking as a girl.
I don't want to see it. Meanwhile, a guy's like, yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah. So there you go. There's your reason why.
Very true.
Yeah, if you showed it, you would notice, but you wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, buddy."
Yeah, ooh, love this movie.
Exactly. Yeah. You would just be like, "Oh, okay. What'd you do that for?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the horror genre. I agree with you though. It's they have no problem, and I've always wondered why are there that many actresses willing to bear it all on screen? You know what I mean? Because it's not like anyone's forcing you to do it.
Correct.
If you can't find an actress to do it, then you just don't. You either don't do it or you don't have a movie. No one is forcing you. To my knowledge, because again, I've never been in a movie, but it just seems like, man, are people that willing to do it?
Yeah, maybe you get paid a lot extra.
I know. You get to a certain clout, then you could just write that stuff in. You're going to have to pay me $1 million extra to do that.
Yeah.
And some people are like, okay, because we're going to make that and more back.
Yeah, we'll double it, triple it.
Yeah. As I know, there was a Hugh Jackman movie called Swordfish that came out quite a while ago. And it was the first time Halle Berry had exposed it all on screen. And she built up a reputation for herself. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was, she's reading a magazine, and then someone's talking to her, and she just lowers the magazine, and you're seeing the goods. Yeah. But if I remember correctly, like, she had written that into her contract. Like, if you want me to do this, you're going to pay for it.
That's like Jennifer Lawrence on that. I don't remember the movie that just came out, you know, last year. Yeah. I'm sure, because it was all over, like, nude scene, Jennifer Lawrence, Jennifer Lawrence's nude scene. And it's
my wife and I had watched that. We didn't hear about any of that stuff. So when that scene happened, we both thought for sure that's probably, like, that's really good CGI. That's a good stunt double that you, but then I read the trivia that she's like, no, I wanted to do it. Like, there's no point paying somebody to do it. I'll do it. But at the same time, like, it obviously was nowhere near like a sexy scene as she's like,
it was funny.
Beating a kid on the beach.
Yes.
But yeah, it was, but yeah, that's a long way from this movie though.
Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you think? What do you grade this movie?
I'm going to give this movie oh man, that's kind of hard. Like a C.
Okay.
Like the aspect, you know, like the storyline of it is scary, but I just feel like it's just a lot older, and if that exact plot, not the second, like, I don't want anything cut out from it, was made now with maybe just some better effects, then I think, you know, it would have been better, just because the blood looks so fake.
Yeah, okay, I got you. I was wondering effects. I'm like, those guys were I'm like thrusting.
I'm like, the blood just looks like so fake.
Right.
And but I mean, that's it. And I just, like I said, the storyline was horrific in itself, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go with a C+. A lot of what you said, there really wasn't much of a plot to this movie other than there's a woman, let's put her at rock bottom and then see what happens. And so with that, there weren't really this was a scary scenario, more than it was a scary movie. Like, nothing in here was like, oh no, like you know, it's absolutely awful and terrifying that it happened to this person. And it definitely could happen. The reality of the horror in this is far more realistic than a Friday the 13th or something like that. But with that being said, there wasn't any real suspense in this. Like the assault scene was like a half hour long, you know, and it was more like, how much more can this woman take?
Yes, it was knocked out, drag out.
And so it was, I remember it being more traumatic the first time I saw it when I was younger. It still is. It's still, like, it's not a movie I'd want my daughter to watch.
Correct.
By any means. But it would be a movie that it's like, I think its reputation is earned, but it's not one that's like, I have to check that off my box to be a complete. It's like, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you have it, you have it. It's fine. You know, there's other horror classics that are far more important to see than something like this. So a C for you and a C+ for me. We said it's a shuffle week, right? This was your pick. So
it is.
All right, let me fire up the old roulette wheel here and see what's going to pop across the screen as Plex is taking forever to load. Always. Let's see. Movies. Horror movies. And let me click horror movies we haven't seen. I think that's important too. Yeah, there we go. Ready, set, shuffle. Oh, this is gonna be. This movie's terrible.
Oh, great!
No, it's fun though. It's fun because it's terrible. We are going to watch 1986's Slaughter High.
All right,
Slaughter High. This movie's bad.
Can't wait.
Oh, it's fun. Like, I Spit on Your Grave was not fun to watch.
Right.
This movie is
like Street Trash fun.
In that same vein, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
In that same vein. Like, this is it's just such a dumb movie. Oh, top to bottom. The acting is bad. Like, you're really going to have to like just let your sense of belief go.
Okay.
Because it's like you've got a group of kids that are high school kids, and then they do something, and then they come back to a reunion later. But clearly, it's the same actors in adult age that they're trying to play off as high school kids, which is like you look 40,
yeah,
and you're playing, So it's just kind of it's goofy like that. It's just, I don't know. It's a fun one. This is I would put this in line with like a Street Trash, probably closer to like Night of the Demons.
Okay.
Where it's just goofy. Like, you guys got together, you made a movie, good for you. It's fun though. Like, it's got a soft spot for me. This is one of those walking around the video store when I was a kid. I remember seeing this box a lot. And so 80s box art and 80s movie posters were so notorious for, especially horror, for like cheesy lines. Like, this one is Marty Majored in Cutting Classmates. Like, haha, good for you. This will be a nice palate cleanser after.
And like, can't wait because my 10-year reunion is this year. So
already.
Yeah, I hope someone doesn't major in Cutting Classmates this year for me.
I can't even think who in your class would be a Marty from this movie.
I can, but I'll say it off screen.
Fair enough. All right, well, you got anything before we go?
No, I do not.
All right, well, that wraps up another episode of Digication. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. There is a link to our letterbox down below. Feel free to like and subscribe, comment, let us know. We really love it when we get to interact with fans. We're going to need a guest on here soon.
Yeah.
Got to get somebody back on the show. But until then, we'll be back next week with Slaughter High. I'm one of your hosts, Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we'll see you guys then.
Bye.